I had to stop my life and dedicate my life to God.
There was a moment in American popular music when a melody played not just to entertain but to shift an entire era. Turn the clock back to the 1960s in the industrial city of Detroit, where the rumble of auto factories merged with the driving heartbeat of soul music. In that turbulent atmosphere, the voice of Martha Reeves emerged as a phenomenon. It was not a smooth, polished sound crafted in luxury studios. It was raw, gritty, and bursting with life, as if drawn directly from the asphalt, the church pews, and the sweat-drenched nights of a working-class town. Yet behind the bright stage lights and historic recordings like Dancing in the Street or Heat Wave lay a bitter reality. The American entertainment industry was never a smooth golden dream. Behind the applause of white audiences were heavy costs paid by a woman of color, commercial exploitation, brutal racial discrimination, and silent battles with addiction. Martha Reeves was not merely a famous singer under the Motown banner. She was a living witness to the golden age of American music, a victim of an industry built on exploiting artists, and above all, a resilient warrior. Through strength and sacrifice, she persevered through every hardship to reclaim her dignity, financial control, and the true value of an artist. If you love stories behind the spotlight and want to explore the real side of entertainment legends, please like this video and subscribe to the channel now so you never miss our upcoming content. To understand the weight in every line Martha Reeves sang, we must return to the roots where her soul was formed. Little Martha Rose Reeves was born in mid-July 1941 in Eufaula, Alabama. She was the third child in a large family of 11 children born to Elijah and Ruby Lee Reeves. Before Martha was even a year old, her parents decided to pack up and leave the South for the North, arriving in Detroit, Michigan. This was not just a personal relocation. It was part of the historic Great Migration. Millions of African Americans fled harsh racial discrimination and oppressive Jim Crow laws in the rural South, hoping to find the Northern promise in major industrial cities. Post-war Detroit was a massive economic engine. Famous auto plants like Ford and General Motors operated at full capacity, creating jobs and establishing a stable black working class. The city nurtured a unique cultural framework. Martha's voice later became the perfect intersection it carried, the deep, persistent pain of the South and the fast-driving pulse of Northern industrial machinery. Yet before touching urban life, music absorbed into Martha right from her home and church. Her grandfather, Reverend Elijah Reeves, led the Metropolitan Church in Detroit. In that household, her father played guitar, her mother loved to sing, and the children grew up in the choir. Gospel music in the sanctuary was not an art form for performance. It was vital breath, a place to pour out suffering and seek salvation. That exact environment forged young Martha's natural, emotionally raw singing style and her unmatched power to unleash energy. Alongside raw instinct, her talent was honed through formal vocal education. At Russell Elementary School, teacher Emily Wagstaff quickly recognized her unique voice. By the time she attended Northeastern High School, teacher Abraham Silver directly trained her in classical vocal technique, even choosing her to perform a complex Bach aria in a school concert. The blend of classical discipline and the raw emotional power of gospel created a unique vocal formula, laying the foundation for a future legend. When she received her high school diploma in 1959, Martha officially stepped into the fight for survival. By day, she worked in retail to make a living. By night, she stepped under the nightclub lights under the stage name Martha LaVai while performing alongside her group the Delphis with teammates Rosalind Ashford, Annette Sterling, and Gloria Williams. Exhausting long nights for small pay did not discourage her. Under the dim lights of those clubs, Martha knew she was building the resolve needed for a much bigger turning point. The fateful turning point that brought Martha into the spotlight began in the dim space of the famous 20 Grand nightclub. In a talent competition held there, her powerful singing voice completely won over the judges. Standing in the audience that night was William Mickey Stevenson, head of artists and repertoire at Motown Records. Impressed by her vocal power, he handed her a business card along with an invitation to an audition. However, a rare misunderstanding occurred, starting one of the most interesting anecdotes in popular music history. Unfamiliar with professional procedures, Martha naively thought it was a direct job offer. She decided to quit her daytime sales job on the spot and showed up at the Hitsville, USA headquarters on West Grand Boulevard the very next morning. When he saw the young girl standing at the door, Stevenson was stunned because he had never set an appointment. Realizing her mistake, Martha was deeply embarrassed. But just as she turned to leave, Stevenson faced a busy emergency and asked her to answer the phones for him for just a few minutes. That random request stretched from a few hours into many consecutive weeks. Thanks to the commercial knowledge and office skills she had honed in high school, Martha quickly handled everything smoothly, answering calls, organizing schedules, and managing audition files. She naturally became an effective secretary for the artists and repertoire department of the label. This unexpected position gave Martha an invaluable privilege observing the entire operation of the Motown machine. The Hitsville headquarters at that time operated just like an industrial production line, 24/7 where songwriters, musicians, and producers worked continuously to release records at a breakneck speed. In particular, this was also where the Artist Development School operated under the strict direction of Mrs. Maxine Powell. Here, working-class black artists had to go through rigorous courses on posture, dress communication, and proper behavior according to white middle-class standards. Looking at it deeply, this was a strategic cultural exchange by founder Berry Gordy. For black music to cross racial lines, enter the mainstream market, and win over white audiences, Motown had to smooth out the raw, original edges of gospel music and dress it in an elegant, polished image. Sitting right at the center of that wheel, Martha learned the hit-making process while patiently waiting for her own moment. And the big opportunity knocked in the exact way history often creates a turning point from someone else's trouble. When the resident backing group, the Andantes, could not arrive in time for a recording session with young male singer Marvin Gaye, Martha quickly called her singing friends in the Delphis to fill in. Their harmonious blend created a huge success for the track Stubborn Kind of Fellow, opening the door for further collaborations on the songs Hitchhike and Pride and Joy. This chemistry immediately caught the eye of owner Berry Gordy. Right after that, good fortune smiled again when famous female singer Mary Wells suddenly fell ill and missed the song I'll Have to Let Him Go. Martha bravely stepped up to the microphone to take her place. Her voice overflowing with energy completely convinced Gordy, leading to an official recording contract for the group under the subsidiary label Gordy Records. Along with the contract came a new brand name, Martha and the Vandellas. This name was created by combining Van Dyke Street near Martha's home and the name of the female singer she idolized, Della Reese. In the spring of 1963, the group released the single Come and Get These Memories. This was also the debut work of the legendary songwriting trio Holland Dozier Holland, laying the foundation for one of the most explosive creative alliances in contemporary music history. By the summer of the same year, the hit song Love is Like a Heat Wave debuted and exploded like a storm. The song quickly climbed to number 4 on the main pop music chart, sat proudly at the top 1 spot on the R&B chart for 4 consecutive weeks, and earned the group their first Grammy nomination. The telephone secretary of the past officially crossed the turning point of her life, becoming a bright star in the American music sky. As the period from 1964 to 1968 opened, seen from the outside, it was the most brilliant golden age for Martha and her teammates. A series of hit songs were born, continuously dominating radio stations across the ocean. Yet deep beneath that bright spotlight lay a silent tragedy where entertainment music was pulled into a complex political wheel and internal conflicts of interest behind the scenes. The clearest proof of how the era intervened in art was the iconic track Dancing in the Street. For Martha personally, this song was born simply as an innocent invitation celebrating summer joy youth and the power of community connection. Yet when the song played right at the peak of the civil rights movement and intense racial conflicts exploded across major cities, the recording was immediately turned into a target of suspicion by the politicians and white media of the plating the politish. Time. Federal investigators even attached an imposed label to it as a code for inciting riots. The painful contrast between the pure soul of the singer and the heavy political burden placed on her shoulders was a bitter experience reflecting the true price that artists of color had to bear. Beyond external social pressure, another fierce hidden battle took place right inside Motown Records. This was not merely personal friction or jealousy between Martha Reeves and Diana Ross, but the result of a calculated commercial strategy by owner Berry Gordy. From a market perspective, Gordy favored Diana Ross and the Supremes with all the best resources because Diana's voice was thinner, leaning toward light pop music, making it easy to cross racial boundaries and reach the mainstream white audience. Meanwhile, Martha's fierce, torn voice, rich in gospel identity, was considered too black by the management team for their expansion strategy. That commercial calculation led to unfair decisions. The song Jimmy Mack, a promising recording into which Martha poured her entire heart, was kept hidden in the vault by Gordy for 2 full years, simply out of fear that it would reduce the appeal of ongoing releases from the Supremes. When the song was finally released, it immediately swept the charts and entered the top 10 songs, proving her suppressed talent. Accumulated resentment made Martha the first artist in Motown history brave enough to publicly question the label's accounting system and financial transparency. To calm the wave of protest and recognize her status, Gordy agreed to change the brand name to Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. However, this was only a formal gesture because the order of priority in the business machine did not change at all. Cruel reality also extended to tour buses across the American South. Joining the Motown Review Tour alongside famous names like Marvin Gaye or Stevie Wonder, they had to face the brutal face of racial segregation rules. Even though their records sold millions of copies and played in every home, those artists were still refused rooms by hotels, turned away by restaurants, and forced to sing in clubs divided down the middle by ropes separating white and black. Audience. Behind the velvet curtain was the dark side of a wage mechanism based on physical labor. Motown operated like an auto factory, paying its stars a fixed weekly wage like assembly line workers instead of sharing royalties proportional to the massive revenue they generated. For black female artists, the pressure was multiplied. Alongside exhausting performance schedules that drained their physical strength, they had to carry strict standards regarding appearance and social norms. Getting married or becoming pregnant meant the risk of being pushed out of their careers. That heavy pressure caused continuous changes in the group lineup. Original member Annette Beard had to part ways with the group after getting married. Her replacement, Betty Kelly, later developed conflicts and left, making way for Martha's younger sister, Lois Reeves. When veteran member Rosalind Ashford decided to step down, Sandra Tilley was chosen to fill the void. These continuous personnel shifts, along with the heavy workload, pushed the members into total exhaustion. Sandra Tilley later abandoned her artistic path completely and passed away quietly from a tumor, a bitter low note for a woman who once helped build the sound that defined a generation. After years of carrying the performance machine on her shoulders, Martha's endurance finally reached its limit. Approaching her late 20s, the woman had to shoulder too many roles all at once, serving as the lead vocalist, managing the group, and maintaining a bright, polished public image. The grueling schedule imposed by the record label was a ruthless physical grind. Profits and fame flowed into corporate accounts while physical harm and mental pressure were borne by the artist alone. To sustain her energy on stage and complete all-night recording sessions, Martha was forced to seek medical assistance. Prescription medications like Valium or lithium were initially prescribed by doctors merely to help her ease stress and soothe physical pain. Yet what began as a legal medical treatment quickly turned into a cruel trap. Her dependence on prescription drugs grew over time, silently altering her mindset, reducing cognitive clarity, and eroding her ability to control her emotions. When exhaustion surged beyond control, her mind completely broke down. Martha fell into a severe nervous breakdown and was forced into inpatient treatment at a psychiatric hospital. This bitter truth was kept hidden for many years under the image pressures of the entertainment industry before she bravely stepped into the light to open her heart in her autobiography titled Dancing in the Street: Confessions of a Motown Diva. Looking at it deeply, Martha's crisis was not merely a personal story but a warning bell about the brutal cost stars must pay when converted into tools for profit. While the female singer struggled in the shadows of illness, the label's business machine kept rolling forward without waiting a single second. A major turning point occurred when the company decided to move its entire operational headquarters from the industrial city of Detroit to Los Angeles. This relocation was not just a geographical change, but an act of abandoning root values, where authentic soul melodies were nurtured by the church and the bloodline of the working class. In that wave of restructuring, the group that once made history was no longer part of the label's growth strategy. Their recording contract was coldly terminated. The concert night that closed the group's brilliant journey took place at Cobo Hall in Detroit, officially bringing down the curtain on a legendary chapter of popular music. Stepping out of the only artistic home she had ever known, Martha faced a deeply bitter reality. Despite devoting her youth and her voice to creating a string of million-dollar recordings, she walked away empty-handed without receiving proportional royalty payments and fell into financial ruin. The stage lights snapped off, leaving behind a woman broken in both body and spirit, forced to blindly navigate her way back to life amidst the storm. Leaving Motown, Martha Reeves stepped into a stormy yet resilient journey of self-reliance. She redirected her path toward Los Angeles, determined to rebuild her solo career with the support of MCA Records. The opening mark of this new chapter was her contribution to the soundtrack album for the film project Willie Dynamite. Soon after, the label released a self-titled solo project, Martha Reeves. Crafted by renowned producer Richard Perry, this was considered one of the most expensive music projects of its time, with an investment budget reaching up to $250. The project gathered top-tier artists like Billy Preston and James Taylor. Despite receiving immense praise from art critics for its exceptional professional quality, the album suffered a bitter commercial failure. The core reason lay in the absence of a powerful media engine and promotional strategy to reach the mainstream public, something the Motown machine had previously executed with extreme efficiency. Relentless in her efforts, Martha went on to release the record The Rest of My Life under Arista Records, followed by 2 albums, We Meet Again and Gotta Keep Moving, under the Fantasy Records label. However, good fortune still did not smile upon the singer. Mainstream musical tastes had completely shifted with the explosive sweep of disco music. Martha's fiery storytelling soul vocals gradually lost ground to vibrant electronic beats made for dance clubs. Yet Martha's greatest challenge during this period did not lie on the music charts, but in the silent battle within herself. The nightmare of prescription drug addiction from her peak years continued to haunt her solo career. Substance dependence dominated her health, affected her professional choices, and repeatedly dragged her into prolonged psychological crises. Right at her seemingly most hopeless moment, an awakening turning point appeared. Through the connection and support of former Motown producer Frank Wilson, Martha found a spiritual anchor in Christian faith. That spiritual awakening became the saving grace of her life. She made a firm decision to enter a strict rehabilitation process and officially cut off all dependence on prescription drugs. Conquering the prescription drug trap not only helped Martha heal her physical and emotional wounds, but also marked the moment she reclaimed full control over her life. From a victim worn down by the entertainment industry machine, the woman stood firmly on her own feet, ready for the battles to reclaim justice and dignity in the road ahead. With her mind fully clear and her faith serving as a strong foundation, Martha Reeves began the most important journey of her life, reclaiming justice, royalties, and dignity for the artist. Martha had always been a straightforward, brave woman. Even at the height of her career under Motown, she was the first artist who dared to publicly question the label's lack of financial transparency, now no longer bound by drug dependency or contract pressures. She officially entered a direct legal battle. She filed a lawsuit against Motown Records in court to demand transparency in cash flow and payment of royalties withheld for many years. This battle led to a historic victory of immense significance. The court not only forced the label to reimburse her, but also issued a mandatory ruling. All re-released recordings from that point forward had to officially credit the brand name Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. This was official recognition for her irreplaceable contributions and those of her teammates. At the same time, the American public witnessed an impressive comeback by the singer. She appeared and sang on national television during the Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever anniversary event. Soon after the inclusion of several classic hits in the famous movie The Big Chill, created an explosive wave of nostalgia, bringing Martha's name to a young generation of listeners. Not stopping at her initial victory, Martha and two original members, Rosalind Ashford and Annette Beard, filed a second lawsuit against Motown to reclaim all back royalties. The legal process was long and drawn out, but through unyielding perseverance, the parties reached a full financial settlement. In a moving moment, owner Barry Gordy publicly offered a sincere apology to Martha for past injustices and delays. Two people who once stood on opposite sides shook hands and made peace, putting an end to past bitterness with mutual respect for each other's legacy. The following years marked a powerful artistic revival. The original trio officially reunited, traveling to the United Kingdom to sign with Motor City Records and release the single Step Into My Shoes. In particular, Martha created a media sensation by releasing her autobiography, Dancing in the Street: Confessions of a Motown Diva, co-written with journalist Mark Bego. The book was not a typical glossy memoir, but a document exposing harsh truths, from the subtle financial exploitation within the music industry and grueling tour schedules to the hidden trap of prescription drugs that she and many peers endured. All those resilient efforts led to an ultimate moment of glory. Martha Reeves and her Vandellas group members were officially inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Standing on the highest stage of the music world, Martha proved to the entire public that an artist may be exploited, oppressed, or cast into the abyss, but through dignity, courage, and genuine talent, they can rise up and claim the throne that belongs to them. Returning from the height of glory at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Martha Reeves did not rest on her laurels. She understood that her mission did not end with singing, but extended to acting for the city that formed her and protecting the rights of future artist generations. Her deep tie to the city of Detroit entered an unexpected new chapter when she decided to run for public office and was elected to the city council. In her role as a genuine public servant, she worked to improve life in her hometown community. Notably, she marked her tenure with a historically selfless gesture, leading the proposal to rename the section of West Grand Boulevard, where the original Hitsville headquarters stood, to Berry Gordy Jr. Boulevard. This act honored the city's musical history and affirmed total forgiving reconciliation toward Motown's founder after endless storms. Extending beyond local politics, Martha brought her painful life experiences directly to the national legislature. She took part in an important hearing before the United States Congress to represent freelance singers, songwriters, and independent recording artists. Speaking with a powerful voice forged from the pain of past exploitation, she lobbied lawmakers to change legal regulations, calling for a transparent royalty structure and fair pay for creative workers. In terms of performance legacy, Martha's explosive, roaring vocal energy blended with the Funk Brothers Band created a revolutionary turning point. Standing in stark contrast to the smooth, polished style of pop groups at the time, her delivery laid the early groundwork for funk, hard soul, female rock, and even proto-punk. More importantly, her brave legal fight and fiery stage persona opened doors of freedom, allowing female icons of later generations like Janet Jackson, Whitney Houston, Beyoncé, or Lizzo to hold complete control over their finances and creative vision. Ultimate recognition for her came late, but it was fully deserved. Rolling Stone magazine placed her at number 151 on its list of the 200 greatest singers of all time. Then, on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a star bearing the name Martha Reeves was officially unveiled. At age 82, she walked onto the stage with confidence, singing live to the admiration of legends like Berry Gordy, Smokey Robinson, and Stevie Wonder. Shortly after, the Detroit City Council formally passed a resolution honoring her lifelong contributions. Looking back at the entire journey, the story of Martha Reeves is not a sugar-coated tale of overcoming hardship. It is a genuine epic of resilience by a Black woman. The delay in her honors, taking 30 years to enter the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and 60 years to earn a star on the Walk of Fame, exposed the unfair side of history. Yet her standing tall and proudly singing live at age 82 remains the ultimate triumph over time and adversity. Whenever the melody of Dancing in the Street plays on the radio or at festive summer gatherings, listeners should remember that it is not merely a song for entertainment. It is the timeless sound of an unyielding soul, a woman who walked through the hell of exploitation, drug addiction, and the threat of obscurity, keeping her voice and her spirit forever free.